We are so happy that you're here. I know that it took a lot for you to come here today. This is your first...
I haven't been anywhere in 2 years. I love you. No,
Thank
you're
you.
an amazing person.
You're an amazing
You really are.
A toxic marriage and a relentless pursuit of perfection. Mariah Carey's story is one of resilience, but also of deep-seated pain. While her music has brought joy to millions, her personal life has been a series of heartbreaking setbacks. In this video, we're delving into the darkness behind the diva, uncovering the events that shaped her, and revealing the toll it's taken on her mental health. Get ready for a shocking look at the woman behind the voice and how she looks now. Childhood. March 27, 1969, marked the arrival of a future music icon, Mariah Carey. Born in Huntington, New York, her name was inspired by a song from the Broadway musical Paint Your Wagon, a nod to her mother Patricia's passion for opera. Mariah's family was a unique blend of cultures. Her mother was an Irish-American opera singer, while her father, Alfred Roy Carey, was an aeronautical engineer with African-American and Afro-Venezuelan roots. However, their interracial marriage faced strong opposition from Patricia's family, who disowned her for marrying a black man. This, coupled with racial tensions in their community, made for a difficult upbringing. The family faced prejudice and hostility, with neighbors even resorting to poisoning their dog and setting their car on fire. After her parents divorced, Mariah's mother had to work multiple jobs to support the family, leaving Mariah to spend a lot of time alone. But even at a young age, music became her solace. She started singing at 3, mimicking her mother's operatic performances. This early exposure to music would lay the foundation for her future success. As a little girl, Mariah excelled in school, especially in music and literature. She had a talent for writing, and even in high school, she started writing poems and song lyrics. But Mariah wasn't just good at writing. She also had an amazing voice. Her mother, Patricia, had been an opera singer, so she taught Mariah how to sing properly. But even though Patricia loved opera, she never pushed Mariah to sing that kind of music. Mariah later said that her mom wasn't pushy and never told her to sing in a more operatic way. While Mariah respected opera, it wasn't her main influence. High school was a busy time for Mariah. She was often absent because she was working as a demo singer, recording sample songs for other artists. Her classmates even gave her the nickname Mirage because they rarely saw her. Working in the Long Island music scene gave Mariah the chance to meet and collaborate with talented musicians like Gavin Christopher and Ben Margulies. They co-wrote songs that would later appear on her demo tape, a collection of her best work. After graduating high school in 1987, Mariah moved to the big city, New York. She worked part-time jobs to make ends meet, and even went to beauty school for a while. She lived in a small apartment with 4 other girls, all trying to make it in the city. Through her connections in the music industry, Mariah landed a gig singing backup for a popular freestyle singer named Brenda K. Starr. This was a big opportunity for Mariah, and it put her one step closer to achieving her dream of becoming a singer herself. Early career. In December 1988, Carey attended a party with Brenda K. Starr, a friend and fellow singer, where she handed her demo tape to Tommy Mottola, the head of Columbia Records. After listening to the tape on his way home, Mottola was so impressed that he immediately asked the driver to turn around. Unfortunately, Carey had already left the event. Determined to find her, Mottola spent 2 weeks searching for the young singer. This relentless pursuit eventually paid off, leading to a bidding war with another record label. Mottola signed Carey to Columbia and brought in top producers Rick Wake, Narada Michael Walden, and Rhett Lawrence to work on her debut album. Columbia marketed Carey as their main female artist, positioning her to compete with Whitney Houston from Arista Records and Madonna from Sire Records. On June 5, 1990, Carey made her first public appearance at the NBA Finals, singing "America the Beautiful." Her performance, particularly the piercing whistle note at the song's conclusion, was a defining moment. CBS sports anchor Pat O'Brien famously declared, "The palace now has a queen." Columbia invested heavily in promoting Carey's debut album, spending over $1 million. The effort paid off. The album, titled Mariah Carey, topped the Billboard 200 for 11 consecutive weeks. Her exposure at the 33rd Annual Grammy Awards, where she won Best New Artist and Best Female Pop Vocal Performance for Vision of Love, further catapulted her into the spotlight. The album's singles, including Vision of Love, Love Takes Time, Someday, and I Don't Wanna Cry all reached #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. Mariah Carey became the best-selling album in the United States in 1991, with worldwide sales reaching 15 million copies. Carey's follow-up album, Emotions, released on September 17, 1991, was a collaboration with Walter Afanasieff, Robert Clivillés, and David Cole from C+C Music Factory. The album, described by Carey as an homage to Motown soul music, featured the title track as its lead single, which became her 5th consecutive #1 single on the Billboard Hot 100. This achievement made her the first artist whose first 5 singles topped the chart. Despite the success, Emotions was met with mixed reviews. Critics praised its maturity, but also described it as calculated and lacking originality. The album sold 8 million copies globally, but did not match the commercial and critical success of her debut, Rise to Stardom. Next, Mariah Carey aimed to shift her sound to a more adult, contemporary, and pop-friendly style with her next release, Music Box. Produced by Carey and Walter Afanasieff, the album marked the beginning of a successful songwriting partnership that lasted until 1997's Butterfly. Released on August 31, 1993, Music Box received mixed reviews from critics. Some described Carey's songwriting as cliched and her vocal performances as less emotive compared to her earlier work. AllMusic's Ron Wynn noted, "Sometimes excessive spirit is preferable to an absence of passion." Despite the mixed reviews, Music Box was a commercial success. To promote the album, Carey embarked on her debut tour, the Music Box Tour, which consisted of 6 concert dates. The album's first 2 singles, Dream Lover and Hero, became her 7th and 8th chart toppers in the United States. Additionally, her cover of Badfinger's Without You was a significant hit in Europe, becoming her first #1 single in Germany, Sweden, and the United Kingdom. With worldwide sales of over 28 million copies, Music Box remains Carey's best-selling album and one of the best-selling albums of all time. In mid-1994, Carey recorded and released a duet with Luther Vandross, covering Lionel Richie and Diana Ross's Endless Love. Later that year, on November 1, 1994, she released Merry Christmas, which became the best-selling Christmas album globally, with sales exceeding 15 million copies. The lead single, All I Want for Christmas Is You, became a holiday classic and continues to grow in popularity each holiday season. By October 2017, it was the 11th best-selling single in modern music. In 2019, 25 years after its release, the song finally peaked at #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 for the first time, and continued to do so every December since, becoming the first song in history to hold the top position in more than 2 different chart years. Additionally, it is the longest-running holiday #1 song on the Billboard Holiday 100, spending 44 cumulative weeks on the chart. Carey's 5th studio album, Daydream, released in 1995, saw her taking more creative control over her career, leading to tensions with Columbia Records. The album marked a departure from her pop roots, incorporating more R&B and hip-hop influences. Critics hailed Daydream as Carey's best work to date. The New York Times included it in their list of the best albums of 1995, praising it for bringing R&B candy-making to a new peak of textural refinement. They also noted Carey's songwriting had become more relaxed and less reliant on cliches. The album's lead single, Fantasy, became the first single by a female artist to debut at #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. The second single, One Sweet Day, a collaboration with Boyz II Men, stayed atop the Billboard Hot 100 for 16 consecutive weeks, setting a record for the longest-running #1 song at the time. The third single, Always Be My Baby, became Carey's 11th chart topper, tying her with Madonna and Whitney Houston for the most #1 singles among female artists at that time. Daydream was a commercial powerhouse, becoming Carey's biggest-selling album in the United States and earning her 2nd diamond certification from the RIAA, following Music Box. The album also dominated Asian music markets, selling over 2.2 million copies in Japan alone and more than 20 million copies globally. Despite its success, Daydream and its singles did not win any awards at the 38th Grammy Awards, despite being nominated in 6 categories. This prompted Carey to remark, "What can you do? I will never be disappointed again." In early 1996, Carey embarked on her first international tour, the Daydream World Tour, with 7 dates spanning Japan and Europe. Forbes named her the top-earning female musician of 1996 with an estimated income of $32 million. In the mid-90s, Mariah Carey was ready to spread her wings and try something new. Her music took a turn towards hip-hop and R&B, working with cool producers like Sean Combs and Missy Elliott. This change was showcased in her album Butterfly, which came out right around the time she and Tommy Mottola split up. This was a big deal for Mariah. She felt free from Tommy's control and saw it as a fresh start. She even called Butterfly her most important album. Her singing style changed too, becoming softer and breathier. Some people loved it, while others thought her voice wasn't as strong as before. The music video for Honey, the album's first single, showed a sexier side of Mariah, different from her earlier image. Even though Butterfly wasn't as commercially successful as her previous albums, critics loved it. They liked the grown-up lyrics and the more mature sound. After touring for Butterfly, Mariah performed at a big charity concert with other famous singers like Aretha Franklin and Celine Dion. She also started working on a movie project called Glitter, but it kept getting delayed. Because of these delays, her record label wanted her to release a greatest hits album instead. This album, God's Ones, was a big hit, especially in Japan where it sold over 1 million copies in its first week. Mariah only had one more album left in her contract with Sony Music, and she couldn't wait to be done with them. She quickly made her next album, Rainbow, in just 3 months. It was a different sound for her, with new producers like David Foster and Diane Warren. Rainbow had some big hits like Heartbreaker and Thank God I Found You. But even though it sold well, Mariah was still having problems with her record label. They weren't promoting her music the way she wanted. Setbacks. The early 2000s were a roller coaster for Mariah Carey. She received prestigious awards like Artist of the Decade and Best-Selling Pop Female Artist of the Millennium. But she also faced personal and professional setbacks. After leaving Columbia Records, she signed a huge deal with Virgin Records, worth a whopping $80 million for 5 albums. Her first project with them was the movie and soundtrack for Glitter, a musical set in the 1980s. Mariah had full control over this project, but things didn't go as planned. Around the same time, her relationship with singer Luis Miguel ended, and Mariah went through a tough time. She was exhausted, emotionally drained, and started acting strangely in public. She even did a surprise striptease on MTV, which raised a lot of eyebrows. Things got worse, and Mariah had to be hospitalized for exhaustion and a breakdown. The release of Glitter was delayed, and when it finally came out, it was a flop. Critics didn't like it, and it didn't sell well. Mariah was heartbroken and blamed the bad timing, with the movie coming out right after the September 11th attacks. Virgin Records ended her contract early, paying her a lot of money to go away. Mariah went to Italy to clear her head and write new music. She admitted that signing with Virgin was a mistake, saying she did it for the money instead of following her gut. But there was a silver lining. She signed a new deal with Island Records and started her own record label called Monarchy. Sadly, her father passed away from cancer during this difficult time. Mariah even tried acting, starring in a movie called Wise Girls, about waitresses working at a restaurant owned by mobsters. Critics didn't love the movie, but they said Mariah was actually a good actress. In 2002, she released a new album called Charm Bracelet. It was like a fresh start for her after all the drama. But the album didn't sell as well as her others, and some people criticized her singing. She went on tour to support the album, playing smaller venues in the US, but performing in huge stadiums in Asia and Europe. It was a bumpy road for Mariah, but she kept pushing forward. Resurgence. In 2005, Mariah was back in the game with a new album called The Emancipation of Mimi. She described it as a fun party album, like getting ready for a night out. She worked with some big names like the Neptunes, Kanye West, and Jermaine Dupri. This album was a huge hit, reaching #1 on the charts in the US. It was her first #1 album since Butterfly, and critics loved it. They said it was cool, fresh, and modern. It was like Mariah was back in top form. One song from the album, We Belong Together, became a huge hit. It was even bigger than One Sweet Day, her previous record-breaking song with Boyz II Men. Music critics said it was a career-redefining song for Mariah, proving that she was still a major force in the music industry. We Belong Together broke all sorts of records. It stayed at #1 for 14 weeks, making it one of the longest-running #1 songs in US chart history. It was also the most popular song of the whole decade. Mariah even broke another record. She was the first woman to have 2 songs in the top 2 spots on the charts at the same time. We Belong Together was #1, and her next single, Shake It Off, was #2. It was a major comeback for Mariah. The album was re-released with new songs, and one of them, Don't Forget About Us, also became a #1 hit. In total, The Emancipation of Mimi earned 10 Grammy nominations, and Mariah won 3 of them. It was the best-selling album in the US in 2005, selling almost 5 million copies. To celebrate the album's success, Mariah went on a big tour called The Adventures of Mimi. She performed in the US, Canada, Africa, and Japan. Critics and fans raved about her amazing vocals, proving that she was still the queen of pop. In 2007, Mariah was back in the studio working on her next album, EAMC2. Critics had mixed feelings about it, with some saying it was too similar to her previous album, but that didn't stop it from being a hit. It went straight to #1 on the charts, and the lead single, Touch My Body, became her 18th #1 hit. This made her the solo artist with the most #1 songs in the US, beating Elvis Presley. Mariah had big plans for a tour to promote the album, but those plans were put on hold. She later revealed that she had been pregnant but sadly lost the baby. Despite this personal setback, Mariah continued to shine. She performed at the inauguration ball for President Barack Obama and sang a beautiful tribute at Michael Jackson's memorial service. She even tried her hand at acting again, playing a social worker in the movie Precious. Critics were impressed with her performance, and she even won an award for it. In 2009, Mariah released another album, Memoirs of an Imperfect Angel. This one got mixed reviews, with some people liking it and others criticizing her singing style. Even though it wasn't her best-selling album, it still had some popular songs, like Obsessed and a cover of Foreigner's I Want to Know What Love Is. That cover song became a huge hit in Brazil, breaking airplay records. Later that year, Mariah went on tour again with her Angels Advocate tour, but she also had plans for a remix album called Angels Advocate, which never ended up being released. After the Angels Advocate tour was canceled, Mariah Carey wasn't one to slow down. She headed back to the studio to create her second Christmas album, Merry Christmas to You. It dropped in 2010, packed with 6 original songs and a remix of her classic hit, All I Want for Christmas Is You. The album was a big success, landing at #1 on the R&B hip-hop albums chart. Mariah also teamed up with music legends Tony Bennett and Justin Bieber for some exciting duets. She lent her voice to Bennett's Duets 2 album and joined Bieber for a festive rendition of All I Want for Christmas Is You on his Christmas album. In early 2012, Mariah made her grand return to the stage after having her twins. She performed at Gotham Hall in New York City and even sang a special song she wrote for President Obama's re-election campaign. She then released a new single, Triumphant, Get 'Em, featuring rappers Rick Ross and Meek Mill. Mariah also tried her hand at judging, joining the panel of American Idol, but things got a little dramatic, with some on-set disagreements with fellow judge Nicki Minaj. Meanwhile, Mariah kept working on her music. She recorded a song called Almost Home for the Disney movie Oz the Great and Powerful, and started working on her next album, collaborating with a bunch of different producers. This album, called Me, I Am Mariah, The Elusive Chanteuse, came out in 2014 and had a mix of ballads and upbeat songs. But Mariah wasn't just focused on music. She also started a Christmas residency show called All I Want for Christmas Is You, A Night of Joy and Festivity. This show became an annual tradition, taking place in different countries and ending in 2019 after 8 years of holiday cheer. Recent hits. In 2015, Mariah made a big move by leaving Universal Music Group and reuniting with L.A. Reid at Sony Music's Epic Records. She also announced a new residency show in Las Vegas called 1-1 to Infinity, where she would perform all her chart-topping hits. To celebrate, she released a greatest hits album with the same name and a new song called Infinity. Mariah also tried her hand at directing a Christmas movie for the Hallmark Channel called A Christmas Melody. She even starred in it. And in 2016, she went on a big tour called the Sweet Sweet Fantasy Tour, her first major tour in Europe in over a decade. That same year, Mariah let cameras follow her around for a reality show called Mariah's World, which aired on the E! Network. It showed behind-the-scenes moments from her tour and her wedding planning. She also made a guest appearance on the TV show Empire and performed at a holiday benefit concert. But things didn't always go smoothly. On New Year's Eve 2016, Mariah's performance in Times Square was a disaster because of technical problems. She couldn't hear the music properly, and it became a big news story. In 2017, she released a new single, voiced the mayor in the Lego Batman movie, and went on tour with Lionel Richie. She even got featured on a remix of the hit song Unforgettable. She also released a Christmas song for the movie The Star and made her own animated Christmas movie called Mariah Carey's All I Want for Christmas Is You. And she redeemed herself by returning to the New Year's Eve stage in 2017 and giving a flawless performance. In 2018, Mariah signed a deal with Live Nation Entertainment and started a new Las Vegas residency called The Butterfly Returns. It was a huge success, and she also toured in Asia and Europe. She even released a new album called Caution, which got great reviews but didn't sell as well as her other albums. Mariah kept busy in 2019, releasing a theme song for the TV show Mixed-ish and re-releasing her classic Christmas album with bonus tracks. She also had a mini documentary made about her iconic Christmas song All I Want for Christmas Is You, which finally reached #1 on the charts that year. In 2020, Mariah had a lot to celebrate. She was inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame and marked the 30th anniversary of her debut album with a special campaign called Duct MC30. She released a live EP, The Live Debut, 1990, and even wrote a memoir called The Meaning of Mariah Carey, which became a bestseller. She also treated her fans to a compilation album called The Rarities, filled with rare and unreleased songs from throughout her career. And she didn't stop there. She collaborated with other artists like Busta Rhymes and released another Christmas special on Apple TV Plus with special guests Ariana Grande and Jennifer Hudson. In 2021, Mariah continued to collaborate, appearing on a song with Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis and releasing a Christmas single with Khalid and Kirk Franklin. Then, in 2022, she joined DJ Khaled and Latto on a remix of Big Energy, which sampled her own song, Fantasy. She even shared her singing expertise in an online masterclass course. To mark the 25th anniversary of her iconic album Butterfly, Mariah released an expanded version in 2022. She also co-wrote a children's book called The Christmas Princess and performed sold-out shows in Toronto and New York City. She even got involved in Broadway, co-producing the musical Some Like It Hot, which earned her a Tony Award nomination. 2023 was another big year for Mariah. An old song of hers, It's a Rap, went viral on TikTok, leading her to release a new EP for it. She also released a deluxe version of her album Music Box for its 30th anniversary, with a remix that got nominated for a Grammy Award. And of course, she went on another Christmas tour, Merry Christmas One and All, which was a huge success. In 2024, Mariah kicked off the year with a collaboration on Ariana Grande's remix of Yes and started a brand new residency in Las Vegas called The Celebration of Mimi. She also appeared on a remix of Muni Long's Made for Me. Mariah's career shows no signs of slowing down. She continues to make music, perform, and explore new creative avenues, proving that she's a true icon in the entertainment industry. Messy love life. In 1990, Tommy signed Mariah to a music contract and shortly after announced he was divorcing his wife, Lisa Clark, whom he had been with for almost 20 years. Tommy had even converted to Judaism to marry Lisa, and they had 2 children together. Despite this, he left his family for Mariah, who was just 19 at the time. Mariah, who had already experienced much turmoil in her young life, felt that Tommy was a powerful figure who could help her achieve her dreams. Initially, she believed he genuinely cared for her and supported her musical career. They soon started working together, producing hit after hit. However, shortly after Tommy's divorce, he and Mariah got married. She was 23 and he was 43. Their wedding was a grand affair in New York, with Mariah wearing a $25,000 Vera Wang dress inspired by Princess Diana. Despite the lavish wedding, Mariah knew she was marrying for the wrong reasons. She didn't truly love Tommy, and felt controlled by him. She hoped that marriage might make him less controlling, but this was not the case. There was immense pressure from Tommy to get married, and Mariah went along with it out of fear. She later revealed that nobody saw her crying and miserable on her honeymoon, feeling utterly alone. Mariah has openly shared that her marriage with Tommy wasn't intimate. She said, "My relationship with my husband was not a physical one. It just wasn't. This relationship shaped her profoundly and left her with lasting trauma. It beyond shaped me. I still have nightmares about it," she confessed, indicating the psychological control and manipulation she endured. Living with Tommy was like being locked away. They moved into a massive mansion together, which Mariah paid for half of, but she felt like a prisoner in her own home. "People don't know that I paid for half of it. I wanted to because I didn't want to be like my mom, living with this boyfriend and that boyfriend, and always hearing, 'Get out of my house.' I never wanted that for myself. I always wanted it to be like, you know what, I own this too. But people didn't look at it like that. They thought I was a kept woman." Mariah's situation echoed her mother's struggles, making it even more heartbreaking. In an interview with Cosmopolitan in 2019, she said, "You might want to picture a child bride. There was a conscious effort to keep me this all-American, whatever that means, girl." She often questioned why she married Tommy more than anyone else did. On her wedding day, she felt there was no way out and couldn't believe she was getting married so young. Publicly, Mariah shared her feelings of abuse in her marriage during an interview with Larry King. She said she was emotionally and mentally abused and that it was incredibly difficult to leave. The connection with Tommy was not just marital, but also professional, as he controlled her career and personal life. Mariah's desire to speak openly about her experiences came to fruition in her book. She detailed the extent of Tommy's control over her life, including security cameras and guards monitoring her every move at their estate in Bedford. She described an escape attempt with her friend Brat, where they left the property without security, leading to a frantic search by Tommy's guards. Living in such a controlled environment, Mariah felt like she was never alone. Tommy's surveillance made her feel trapped. She had to hide in her shoe closet to have private conversations, away from the cameras. Every move she made was monitored, and she couldn't even have a snack without being watched. This constant surveillance made her feel like she was always under scrutiny. Mariah couldn't talk to anyone who wasn't under Tommy's control, couldn't go out or do anything freely. Tommy's employees were loyal to him and would report back to him if Mariah tried to confide in them. She even prepared a to-go bag with essentials in case she needed to escape quickly. The lack of love from Tommy made Mariah feel like a project rather than a wife. He seemed more interested in making her a star than in loving her. There were also racial issues in their relationship. Mariah, who has faced racism throughout her life, found it particularly painful that her husband tried to erase her urban roots. He wanted to make her more mainstream, which he equated with being white. At one point, Tommy made a racist comment about Sean Diddy Combs, which Mariah called out. Despite all the reasons to leave, Mariah struggled to find the strength until she met Derek Jeter. Derek was a former baseball player, and their relationship gave Mariah hope. She realized she deserved love and saw a healthy family dynamic through Derek. This relationship was short-lived, but pivotal in giving Mariah the courage to leave Tommy. In 1998, Mariah finally divorced Tommy, but it wasn't a smooth process. Tommy used his power at Sony to sabotage Mariah's career, directing resources to Jennifer Lopez to overshadow Mariah's work. This began a feud between Mariah and Jennifer that persists to this day. Mariah believes that much of the negative reception to her movie, Glitter, was due to Tommy's influence. Tommy later admitted in his book that his relationship with Mariah was inappropriate and wrong. He apologized for being controlling and obsessive, but also took credit for her success. This rubbed people the wrong way, as he seemed to downplay Mariah's talent and hard work. Tommy's control over Mariah's life and career was problematic, mixing personal and professional boundaries. Even after their divorce, he continued to try to control and undermine her. Michael Jackson once called Tommy the most evil man in the music industry, highlighting his manipulative nature. After her split from Tommy, Mariah met Latin singer Luis Miguel in Aspen in 1998. Their relationship started promisingly, but rumors of infidelity soon surfaced. Mariah was reportedly getting close to singer Eric Benet while working on the Glitter soundtrack. Additionally, Mariah wanted children, but Luis did not, leading to their breakup in 2001. The end of this relationship reportedly contributed to Mariah's much-publicized meltdown that year. She was hospitalized for an emotional and physical breakdown after smashing glasses and dishes in her New York hotel suite. In 2001, Mariah reportedly had a brief romance with rapper Eminem. According to Complex magazine, their relationship lasted about 6 months, but Mariah denied it during an interview with Larry King. Eminem, however, continued to diss Mariah in his songs, and Mariah responded with her own disses, notably in her song Obsessed, where she dressed up like Eminem in the music video. Mariah met Nick Cannon at the Teen Choice Awards in 2005, but they didn't start dating until March 2008. Their relationship moved quickly, and Nick described it as love at first sight. They got matching tattoos before the public even knew they were dating, with Nick getting Mariah's name tattooed across his back and Mariah getting Mrs. Cannon on her lower back. Just 6 weeks after they began dating, they married at Mariah's estate in the Bahamas in April 2008. Their marriage seemed happy initially, and they welcomed twins, Moroccan and Monroe, in April 2011. However, rumors of Mariah cheating with rapper Nas surfaced, which Nick denied, stating that Nas was a mutual friend. By 2014, Nick revealed that he and Mariah had been living in separate houses for months. A source told E! News that Mariah wanted Nick to stay home more, but he always used work as an excuse. They eventually decided to divorce, with Nick filing in December 2014. Mariah's next significant relationship began in 2014 when she met billionaire businessman James Packer at the premiere of Hercules. They went public in 2015, and 6 months later, James proposed with a 35-carat engagement ring. However, their relationship was fraught with issues, including problems negotiating their prenup. A friend of James even intervened, arranging for James to go to Israel to get some space from Mariah. By October 2016, their engagement was called off, but Mariah demanded $50 million from James for the broken engagement, citing that she had uprooted her life for him. She also kept the engagement ring and reportedly walked away with between $5 and $10 million. Shortly after her breakup with James, Mariah began dating her much younger backup dancer, Brian Tanaka. They briefly broke up in 2017, and Mariah and Nick briefly rekindled their relationship, but it didn't last long. Mariah soon got back together with Brian. On December 26, 2023, Tanaka confirmed that he and Carey had parted ways after 7 years of dating.